Conference. Education Ministry offices closed for memorial service. Deputy Police Commissioner cleared of dangerous driving charge. Family dispute ends in shooting, suspect on the run, and skeletal remains found in La Romaine. Now for the details. The inaugural Life, Living and Longevity Entrepreneurship Conference took place on December 13th at the Cascade St. Anne's Community Center, providing small and medium-sized enterprises with tools for success. Hosted by Inspire Consulting Limited, the event featured dynamic sessions on business resilience, growth strategies, financial planning, and technology-driven consumer engagement. Key speakers including HR strategist Courtney McNish and sustainability advocate Ricardo Sukai shared solutions for navigating today's competitive business environment. Inspire's founder Susanna Reyes highlighted collaboration and sustainability as key to long-term success. Tickets included lunch and networking opportunities, and organizers promised more initiatives to support SMEs in the future. The Education Ministry has announced that its head office on St. Vincent Street, Port of Spain, and all district offices will close to the public from noon on December 17th. This is to facilitate a memorial service at 1 p.m. following the tragic passing of the minister in the Ministry of Education, Lisa Morris-Julian, and her 2 children. The ministry says the closure allows staff time for reflection and support during this difficult time. Normal operations will resume at 8 a.m. on December 18th. Deputy Commissioner of Police Suzette Martin has been cleared of a dangerous driving charge related to an April 2023 incident. On December 16th, Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard filed a notice of discontinuance, and the matter was formally dismissed in the Port of Spain District Court on December 17th. The charge stemmed from allegations that Martin struck a 14-year-old student while driving an unmarked police vehicle on the priority bus route in San Juan. The student suffered foot fractures. Martin, who pleaded not guilty, remained head of the Professional Standards Bureau throughout the proceedings. No reason was given for the case's discontinuance. A family dispute over missing items has left a 43-year-old man nursing a gunshot wound and another relative on the run. The incident occurred around 6:30 a.m. on December 15th in Guapo. Police say the victim went to a female relative's home over claims of missing items from a family house in La Brea. A male relative allegedly appeared with a homemade shotgun, fired and struck the man in the right knee. The victim fled and alerted police, but the shooter remains at large. Officers from the Southwestern Division Task Force are continuing their search, with WPC Regis leading investigations. Police are investigating the discovery of human skeletal remains in an overgrown area in La Romaine on December 16th. A 66-year-old retiree found the remains around 7 a.m. while hunting near the Southern Main Road and alerted authorities. Officers from the Southern Division and Homicide Bureau responded, and the remains were removed for examination at the Forensic Science Center. Due to the advanced decomposition, police were unable to determine the identity, race, or gender. Investigations are ongoing, and anyone with information is urged to contact the police or Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Welcome back to Dollars and Cents. Now, in this episode, I would like to talk about a topic that is very dear to me, the topic of financial literacy. And I'm of the firm belief that financial literacy is not spoken enough in the school system. And as a result, you know the old adage in Trinidad and Tobago, you go to school, do good in school, get a good job, and then basically that's the end of most of the guidance that you will get from parents and the persons who are guiding you as a child moving forward. And after this, you get a job or a stable job in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, in most cases, when people say a stable job, it's either a government job or if it is one of the 4 big professions: engineer, doctor, lawyer, and what's the next one? Engineer.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer. It's only be 3 sometimes.
Right. Engineer, doctor, lawyer. Right. And when it is you get those jobs, essentially that's the end of your guidance, and you basically get to figure life out afterwards, right? Today I have a guest, Jared West-Mitchell, and we'll be discussing essentially the idea behind financial literacy and as it ties into financial planning. Now, Jared, I will allow you to do your own introduction, but just a preface, Jared and I have a good relationship for a couple of years now, and our relationship is one where he's actually a client of mine and one of my, I would say, biggest supporters as it relates to the type of work that I do in terms of educating persons as it relates to financial planning. So, Jared?
Yeah, so Darren, thanks for having me. My name is Jared West-Mitchell. I'm a sales trainer and a LinkedIn trainer based here in Trinidad and Tobago and train throughout the Caribbean. And I'm most known where I spend a lot of my time on LinkedIn, where I create a lot of video content. So, yeah, been really good friends with Darren for a while now, from since I asked him to become my advisor. And again, true story, I think I told you this. I literally said it's because I see your information, and for me, because I see my advisor, you could always stay top of mind. So when I want to buy, it's because of your content being relevant to me at that point in time. So yeah.
No,
so,
part of the reason why it is I would have created content was I would have realized there's a large gap as it relates to understanding
massive.
What it takes to be financially successful in life. Because I know a lot of people who are very high earning persons, and their financial literacy is poor, very low.
It doesn't matter how much you earn, you would still be broke if
Correct.
you don't know how to manage your money.
Correct.
And if you don't have financial literacy, you could be making $1 million a month and you could burn $1 million a month.
Simple thing as having a budget. Most people, when you look at it, most people don't really have a budget. Most people don't track their expenses, or track their earnings, and they don't know where they are hemorrhaging from. And sometimes the more money you make, the more problems it does end up in, because you're spending more money and it's like you don't know where this money going. So when you come now and sit down and look back at your life, let's say a couple of years down the line, you would have realized that you would have earned X amount of dollars, but you can't really place a point of, okay, this is tangible where my money go, and this is my money making money for me. All right. Now,
so can I give a first piece of advice
Sure.
to everybody listening? This is something I started doing, I'll be honest. I kind of fell off of it this year because I was doing a couple other projects. But the first thing I'll tell everybody to do is set up savings where that money comes out directly from your account and goes to another account where you don't have immediate or easy access to it. So in other words, pay yourself first. It could be 10% to your salary, it could be 15%, whatever you could afford, but take it out and live on the rest of your salary, like budget the rest, because what you want to do is take that out and put it somewhere where it gets interest, because what I think we lack now in this society is patience. That is not to look at for the next 5 years, 10 years. That is a 20-year strategy that you want to put in place. You can put aside that money for yourself and you can enjoy it later on in life. It's not anything that you're looking at now, but it's to get into the habit that I never had access to that money, but I know it's going to serve me later on. So if you haven't done that as yet, and I'll tell you for what I was doing for my business. Once I got paid from clients, I would take almost 50% of that and put it into a separate account. Because to me, I don't want to touch it. I'll just live on the rest and use the rest. Because I know that's always there, and I would use that when it's time to pay taxes or anything else to the business. That's it. But immediately when I got paid, just transfer it immediately out to the account.
Now that will bring back to a concept as it relates to financial fundamentals, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I would have created a bunch of resources as it relates to understanding, creating basically like a financial planning success roadmap for yourself, right? Now, on a lot of my social media platforms, at Darren Trickers Financial, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere, you can go on my profile and you'll see a link where it is I would have a few different options that you could look at. You could book a meeting, you could see some of these episodes here, as well as there's something called a financial planning toolkit. Now, in that toolkit, I give persons free of charge a few different resources. A budgeting tool, a tool to help you understand in life insurance and critical illness, a tool to help you understand and plan for retirement, and one where it is basically, the name of this is your personal financial success roadmap. What this does, it helps you identify your roadmap towards having financial success. And it's very simple, it's an easy read. And to forward on your point, this is really the second phase in the financial planning roadmap, right? Really looking at your financial fundamentals. The first step is really creating a budget, right? This is where understanding your cash flow by tracking your income and expenses. You're prioritizing needs over your wants and covering your essential fixed costs like rent, utilities first, right? Correct. And then you use a spreadsheet. So you have somewhere to measure it. Now, as I was saying in engineering, you can't fix where you can't measure. Correct. So think of it as, would you drive your car if it is your gas gauge is not working? Would you drive a car if it is your speedometer not working? Correct. You don't know. You ain't going to go down the road and then you ain't know if your speedometer not working, you can take it easy. So you're creating more problems for yourself if you're not able to measure your current situation. So that's why having a budget is important.
And I downloaded your guide. So for anybody who's watching now, if you have never created a budget for yourself and you're just not sure where to start, that is literally just going to give you the framework. It's just to answer the questions and plot any info.
Correct.
So you should start from there, because I could tell you, like, I mean, my phone here recording, but despite the fact having my budget, I have an Excel sheet that I record what I spend every day, just to make sure that I am keeping on track and I could see that visibility, and it creates that trigger, because a lot of us are spending wildly, and when you look back at the end of the week, you're trying to remember where you spent your money, and you can't remember because you're not tracking anything at all. So
correct.
Use that as a good guide to start off with. You have to create a budget, and I think that's a great step.
Now, one of the other things that I want to look at too is, before it is you reach on to putting money aside, you have to create an emergency fund, right? Yes. Now, if it is you don't, a lot of the times people just have a hard time creating or paying themselves first, as you would have said, because they don't have the relevant capital to see about necessary emergencies, right? So that's why I would say,
I think we underestimate the saying of a drop in the bucket still fills the bucket.
Correct.
So I would tell you this, even if all you could spare from your budget is $100, that is still better than no dollars going towards an emergency fund.
I 100% agree.
So even if I had $100, cool. I know at the end of the year it's $1,200.
Yes.
So what I think you have to understand is this game plan. Let's just say the emergency fund supposed to be, everybody says 3 to 6 months. I think it's 6 months to a year.
It's really 6 months to a year.
So let's just say on average, let's just say if you're making $8,000, average government worker salary, right? Let's just say if you're making $8,000, that means you're supposed to have $96,000 in an emergency savings account to cover, let's just say, for everything in terms of what
reality is most people don't even have $10,000 in savings.
But I'm looking at it from a small scale. So let's divide that into half. So let's just say if you had to get $48,000, that means you're supposed to save $4,000 a month. That's not realistic for a lot of people. So what I'm going to break it down to you is I think you could do $400 a month, which means that at the end of the year, you save $4,800. I don't think you need to create the emergency savings fund in 1 year. I think if you give yourself 2 to 5 years' time, you would get your emergency savings fund. A lot of people see it as I need to have it now, and it's not a case. It's building an emergency fund, not having it snap of a finger. And that's how you have to look at it.
A nice way to look at that, right? Think of you're taking a loan from yourself.
Right.
Correct. You're paying a loan to yourself. So if it is you, most people would take a loan to pay for a car payment. Most people would take a loan to see about plenty of different things.
Correct.
You need to operate as though you are the lender, you are the lending institution, and you have to make this payment every month or else there's problems.
Yeah.
Right? So if it is you say you put in $400 a month, let's say for simple maths, $400 or $500 a month, in most people's cases, that's not going to break them. Right?
It's not.
It's not, because sometimes you just lime that money in a weekend.
Thank you.
Right? Or if it is you want to go to a party, you want to go to a fete, whatever the case is.
To have no fete for that money, first of all. So just think about it this way, folks. Think about it as if, I look at it this way. If you spend $500 liming, which I know a lot of people do, just think about it, okay, I'm just doing one less lime a month.
Correct.
That's not going to break you. It honestly isn't. What's going to break you is the day that an expense comes up or something comes up and you're screwed and you're not able to have any money to fix it. So that's what you should be looking at. Give up one thing in order to gain something even better. That's just how I look at it.
So let's say moving forward, right? You already built up your emergency fund 3 to 6 months.
You have a budget to build emergency fund.
You have a budget to build emergency fund. And let me say you're looking at your debts right now, right? In terms of your fixed expenses.
Right.
Now, a lot of people, if they say look at it, most people don't know when the loan finish paying off. Most people can't say, I pay in this amount in interest, and this is the amount of the loan I have. This is where the budget will tie into, because this budgeting tool that I will give, it will help you list out the interest rate, the interest amount, all these different things. So you're able to see and track it, and you can tell exactly which month in the whatever year this loan is going to be finished paid off for.
Correct.
All
so
right?
let me give some tips to some people as well. If you have a lot of loans, go to your credit union or your bank and look at a debt consolidation option. So because what you want to do is put everything into one so you could get it paid off as quickly as possible. For those of you that don't have that, where you have very small amount of loans, it might be a car loan and some other things, if you have the additional income, do the inconvenient thing, because you have to go in and do it. You can't do it online. And if you can, every 3 months or so, go in and make one additional payment to the principal of the loan, not the interest. You could go into the banks, all banks, and say, I'm coming to pay on the principal of this loan. And by doing that, you could shave off the amount of interest you're paying. So instead of your loan being that amount that it was, you'd actually cut off probably thousands of dollars and the amount of months that you're repaying, because you're doing that one additional payment, which I highly recommend.
Now, one of the other things I want to look at is talking about retirement savings, right?
My biggest fear right now.
And right now, we was having a conversation prior with where they're making, they have a bill on the floor right now where they're looking to adjust the old age retirement or NIS pension grant, right? Now, the issue with that is, where it is saying here, you have to have a limit of about $25,000 in savings, which in my opinion is madness, because that is not even a year worth of expenses. If it is your expenses, it's $3,000 a month.
That is 8 months.
Basically. So, what are your thoughts on when it comes to retirement planning?
As you have always taught me, and I tell people, if you're working for an organization, you're supposed to have 3 sets of retirement incomes. One is from the company, if you have a company plan, and you need to go to your company and make sure. The second thing you need to do to your company is to make sure that they are paying your NIB, they're paying your NIS, and you need to go to NIB offices where you can go online, I think, and check it. The second thing is you have the government pension. And then the third thing is you have your own pension plan, which is through insurance company. Now, given the fact that if that government pension is taken away, it means you only have 2. You need to make sure that those 2 are very strong to stand on. So instead of being a stool, you need to make sure and be a mokojumbi. So you have to ask yourself, how tall is this mokojumbi going to be? Is it enough to get you some basic flood waters, or can I scale buildings? So you have to ask yourself, what I want my retirement to look at. Is it just enough to pay off the bills? Is it enough just to make sure I stay ahead of inflation? You need to do that calculation. And then for me, like, we're going to have this discussion right after. It's like, you need to continuously grow it. Like, it can't be you paying $200 on a pension plan for the next 20 years and expect it's going to help cover you when you get retirement age. That's not going to do anything. So that's why I look at it in terms of retirement. I want to make sure that I have enough things to keep me standing when time comes where the income I was creating stop being created and the things that I'm investing in starts paying me.
Now, there's a problem that I would have with a lot of clients, right? They would believe that their retirement is everybody's responsibility but their own. And in some cases, they would have a pension where it is saying, well, when I talk to some people, they'll be like, yeah, I have a pension plan. How much you pay in the pension plan? $300. That's not going to do nothing. That ain't doing nothing to you. And in most cases, when they get a tax return, you're not even taking the tax return and plugging it back into your pension as a lump sum. You're going to take that money and spend it. Most people, very few people I know, throughout the years that I've been in the industry, whenever they get a tax return from a registered annuity, because with a registered annuity, you can get back, you can claim 25% of the annual contributions, and you get that back in a tax return, right? So you get it in a check. Most people, when they get a check, they're going to take that money and spend it on some kind of nonsense, and they're not going to see.
Take that money, buy stocks. Take that money, put it into a pension.
Something they're going to do. What you're supposed to really do is take that same money and plug it back into the pension as a lump sum deposit. That is really how it is you'll be able to maximize a registered annuity. Now, if it is that is not the case, right, and you only dependent on your company pension, In a lot of cases, people doesn't realize that your company pension does be a percentage of your final earnings.
And I can guarantee you 99% of people don't know how much your company pension total is going to be when they retire.
99.999% of persons don't know. Because one, the company, yes, the company will be able to give you some projections, but the reality is, would those projections keep up with inflation? And also too, if it is your final earnings, let's say is $20,000, right? Your final salary is $20,000, right? In most cases, your pension, your final pension you're going home with, would be within the range of either about 10,000, 12,000, if so much.
It was an 8,000, 10,000 earner, because they didn't increase it over time.
No, yeah, man. If it is your final salary is $20,000,
right?
Your pension from that company, if you
probably half the amount.
Half.
Yeah, so you still need things to make
just
it up.
about, if not half, less than half, or just above half.
And I'm sure if you go to road now and ask most elderly people that we see, if you took ask them who retired, if your lifestyle went down or up, and most of them will probably say down.
In a lot of cases, your lifestyle does go down because when you retire, in some cases, you may finish pay off all of your loans, you may not have a mortgage going into retirement, so your lifestyle expenses would decrease, but your medical expenses does increase at that age as well too. So the money that you would have been spending on different things, now you have to spend it on medical expenses. Now you may have to change or update your appliances and stuff, because you know the appliances tend to get trouble and mash up
all
when
things.
it is
You
your
had to buy a car,
all these different things. So your expenses, you may think your expenses may go down, but in some cases it may still remain the same or steady. So your responsibility now is to make up that shortfall of the lack of income where it is you would have.
And can I say this, because you might disagree with me on this, because I know just from an insurance perspective, if you're listening to this, I think the most important insurance they should have now is a retirement plan.
I agree with you.
Because we are living longer, we are getting less support from the government agencies, despite the fact that we are contributing towards those government agencies in the hope of them supporting us in the future. And a lot of us have this ignorance of, I go live long, nothing will happen to me, so I don't need critical or anything. No problem. You ain't going to have no insurance, you don't leave nothing back from nobody, no problem. But at some point in your life, you're going to stop receiving that income. That is guaranteed. If you think you're going to live forever, God bless you. But your salary going to stop at some point. So you have to ask yourself, who is paying that? And if you don't know the answer to that question, you need to have that answer done. You need to create that answer for yourself. That's not nobody's responsibility. So that's why I say, and that's what I said before, CYA, cover your...
If this you want to work out the maths in it, right? Let me just say for argument's sake, you live, if this you retire at 65, right?
Right.
And let's say you live another 20 years, that is still about 85. You have 20 years to live again after you retire, you know. So where that money going to come from? And if this you say inflation is our problem, in that 20-year period, that inflation going to increase.
Cannot come before be probably $50 then.
So the money that you thinking that you'd be settling with or you'd be okay with when it is you retire at 65.
And that's why you have to restrict your lifestyle even more.
You
have to ask yourself, so you have to calculate in your mind, right? So let's go with the calculation. Let's just say if your expenses are 5,000. 5,000 times 12, that's 60,000. 60,000 times 20, that's what, 1.2?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to ask yourself, am I getting at least 1.2 out of my pension when I leave?
Most people can't say that. Most people cannot say that. And I agree with you where it is you say retirement planning is a little bit more important than life insurance, right? In some cases, because if it is a single person, you have no nobody to leave nothing to.
Which is a huge generation coming up now.
A huge bunch of people.
Do the retirement now because you'll be able to maximize on how much you'll get because of your age.
I believe, I am of the firm belief that you're supposed to start planning for your retirement as early as possible. It's from your first time you get a job, and you who have a daughter, right? When your daughter reach age of that she knows how to work, you as a parent need to really impart on her the importance of putting aside money for the older version of herself.
I do that now. So like, I'll give you an example again, going back to what we spoke about at the beginning. So my daughter, again, teaching her in different activities. So she earned some money from some activities she was doing. And I said, right, half is going to savings. And I had to explain to her, and she's like, so when do I get access to this? It's like probably after 18 years old. I was like, but you'll get more than what this money is that you're getting in now. That's the purpose. When you put in this amount, the total amount that you put in over time, you're going to get even more because you're contributing to this, and we're not taking out. I had to emphasize on that. we are never taken out from it until we pass this certain age. That's the goal of it. So I think that is what, that basic financial literacy principle, they should instill in your children. Whatever money you get from mommy and daddy, get into the habit of taking half and just taking it away from yourself and putting it somewhere.
Here, I want to add to that. I would always say, there's a statement that I would have learned while doing CHFCJ, Chartered Financial Consultant, that designation, right? And one of the lecturers, he said that you can borrow money for education. You cannot borrow money for retirement. And that, to me, that was such a mind-blowing statement, because if you really think about it, during your working years, you could, if it is, let's say, it's also based on the type of career path that you have, right?
Correct.
So if it is you are in the corporate sector, all right, not as yourself who's an entrepreneur, right? I am of the firm opinion that you're supposed to be doing as much courses, as getting as much designations as you can, specializing, making yourself, creating the most amount of value within yourself to the marketplace, where it is you can demand a high salary. Because a lot of the problem people have is not a savings problem, it's an income problem.
True.
Right? A lot of people have an income problem, not a saving problem. Because if you don't have the income to save what your basic expenses, you don't have no money to save. Right? So you need to increase your income. So I'm of the firm belief, borrow money to do whatever courses that you have to do, you go pay it back, right? Increase your income, and then once you reach a stage where you're able to see about your expenses, push as much money forward as you could for the older version of
and as I was always listening to Patrick Bet-David.
Right.
He said it where, and I heard a lot of people say this, even if, let's just say, working in corporate and you get an increase in salary, don't change your lifestyle.
Live as though you're still broken. Live as though you're on the old salary.
I made that mistake early when I was in sales and everything in my younger years. But I now change up my car this
After
year.
how much years?
My car for 10 years.
Yeah.
And the only reason I actually changed out the car was, and by the way, one, it's a second-hand car. I didn't even buy brand new, just to make sure I not spend as much money. And then the other reason why was just from an accounting purpose. So my accountant said, you have no debt, so you need to just incur that based on some projects you want to go on. So I said, no problem. But you have to look at it from that standpoint of what am I doing strategically with regards to my money and how I'm going to make it work for me.
I'm glad they make that statement about the car, because a lot of people does have this perspective that you need to always be, you see that keeping up with the Joneses fallacy, right?
Madness.
That is a problem that a lot of people just fall into as it relates to their lifestyle. Most people would buy a car just for the aesthetics of having a new car, when in reality...
You want to be a PEH. All right, cool.
I don't care.
More debt.
I don't care. I will keep my car until it reaches a stage where is changing is as a result of our accounting benefit.
Yep.
Right? That is when I will change my vehicle. You ain't going to catch me change my vehicle for what? Because of what?
Unless the maintenance is expensive more than that.
Unless it makes sense on paper, I'm not doing that.
And even then I'll tell people, because there's so many cars in the country, I mean, you'll be diverting, buy a second-hand car.
I agree with that. No, this is not diverting. No. You see, the thing is with this, right? This is really bringing it back to overall financial literacy.
Correct.
Because a person will have no problem taking a big car loan and essentially just having a car, but will not take that same money and put it aside for themselves. So I just always tell people, if it is you would have taken out a car loan in 2017, or now say you now finished paying off for the vehicle, the same money that you was paying in that car loan, operators though the car loan never done, right?
Correct, sorry, finish, yeah.
Operators though, that car loan never finished. Yes, you don't have to take the whole amount in it. Take a portion of that.
Correct.
Right? If it is the car loan is, let me say, on the low end 2,200, right? You're paying 2,200 for the past 7 years.
Take 1,100.
Take 1,100 out of that and put it in a financial vehicle, in a financial instrument that will create wealth for yourself moving forward. Because if it is you don't do that, that same 2,200, that money gonna disappear, and you ain't gonna know where that money gone, and you're gonna be like, for all these years I was paying this money, how I was surviving, how I was operating. Now that the money become available, you're gonna spend the money on nonsense and on things that are not creating wealth for yourself and your family moving forward.
Correct. So I think so. And this is why the financial literacy is important, because here's the thing, the banks are quite literate in finance. So they're going to push. That's why I tell people, buy a second-hand vehicle versus a new vehicle. And even then when you look at why the financial literacy is important, I remember seeing a story, not sure if you told me or my wife told me, it was so interesting. Somebody was talking about the fact that they're looking at somebody with a house. It's an extended family. and they say, look at this, how about 6 or 7 vehicles in the yard, and one of them is a brand new vehicle, yet there's a plot of land right next to them.
And they wouldn't buy the land.
They won't buy the land, but you're buying a new vehicle. And they don't understand the land will always give you more value than the vehicle. So like those basic financial literacy aspects, you need to make sure and grasp. And the thing is, even if, and I'll tell people there's no reason not to know because, all right, for example, I'm 41. I can't blame my parents because that information wasn't available for them. So for extent, most parents, they know how to pass it on to their children. You have no excuse now with the internet. You're spending too much time. You could go on TikTok and all these channels and search financial literacy and learn it, right? Follow Darren's, follow a bunch of other advisors locally who are doing this stuff and learn so you don't make those mistakes. But a lot of us right now is like, we have access to the information, like it's honestly easy to learn. You shouldn't have an excuse now where retirement comes and they're saying you don't know. Not with the amount of information on our fingertips.
I'm of the firm belief that, as you rightfully said, we cannot blame our parents for their lack of knowledge, right? Knowledge would have been very much restricted, gated, all these different things. Unless you came from a family where it had wealth in the family, and so much so the wealth where it is people were talking about it. Most Trinidadians did not grow up in that kind of environment, so they would have just had to follow the common knowledge. Go to school, get a good job, and that's it, basically. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, and you'll be good, right? Now, in our time here now, and I need to double down on this, in our time here now, information and knowledge as it relates to financial literacy, financial planning, is widely available on the internet.
Yep.
And not to say that you need to go to look at foreign sources. You're getting local information here, right? From credible people, from people who have the relevant designations to be able to give this advice. And if it is, we in our generation, I'm a millennial, you would be a Gen X, right?
I'm a millennial, I write on the cusp.
The nihilist is a reference in Egypt, right? So we who have the access to this information here now with the advent of the internet, we do not have an excuse.
None.
Right? We cannot say in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, when it is we are in our 60s, we cannot say it's the government fault. We cannot say it's this one is down. We cannot make that same excuse.
It's 100% your fault.
It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility.
Your fault.
And I believe that you need to take action and you need to take emphasis on seeing about your own future because no one else will do for you. Jordan, closing.
No, I agree with you on that. Nobody's going to see about your future except you. That is your responsibility. It's not the government's own. Honestly, what the government provides in a pension or grant you at retirement should be gravy. You are 100% responsible from the skill sets and the knowledge that you have and for the companies that you work for to earn as much that you can put aside a portion of those earnings in an insurance, in a pension plan, and something that could earn you additional revenue so that when time comes to retire, that pays you in retirement where you could live the best lifestyle possible.
Retirement is not a one-size-fits-all. There's a lot to take into consideration as it relates to a person's circumstances. There's a lot to look at when it is looking at our overall retirement strategy. But the idea is for you to have an understanding of the basic ideas of what it is you want your retirement to look like. And secondly, reach out to a financial professional to help guide you, right? Because this is an entire area of study. There have been numerous books, there have been numerous modules, courses written on the area of retirement planning alone. It's a large area of study, and trust me, it's very long, it's very complicated, and I try to make it as simple and digestible as I can in terms of the content that I create. What I would like to say also is that, and I want to reiterate this, and listen to me very closely when I say this, retirement planning and financial literacy is your responsibility. There is no longer an excuse that we could make where it is we say we don't know, that we cannot make the excuse where it is where the information is gatekept or we are not privy to this kind of information. So I hope that was one of the major takeaways that I got from this episode. Take action now. This has been Dollars and Cents. Thank you for viewing this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
WESN.